There are similarities in the cases of Andrea Ford and Don Peterson. Lifestyle, where they hung out, but the most glaring is that both were killed with the same gun. Now an investigator in Flagler County is working to uncover who killed the two women, and could there be more? The case files are 15,000 pages thick. Details of the deaths of two women, Andrea Ford and Don Peterson. Similar lives, similar deaths.
We don't know if they knew each other or not, but it's very likely that they at least crossed paths at least once.
The case begins the morning of October 29, 1997. A bus driver discovers the body of Andrea Ford, naked, lying on the side of State Road 100 near County Road 302. A gunshot wound to the back of her head.
They removed the bullet from her head, and it's a .25 caliber.
With little information, the case went cold. Then 2 years later, another victim. September 9, 1999, Don Peterson, dumped on the side of Seminole Woods Parkway near Squash Blossom Trail, dead from a gunshot wound to the back of the head, also a .25 caliber.
They determined that they were fired from the same gun.
And so that leads you to believe same person killed both?
Most likely, yes.
So what are you looking at here? Are we looking at a serial killer?
Well, we are looking at everything. There's nothing that's linked our cases to a serial killer. We can't rule that out.
Detective Scalia says she has not found any other similar cases in the area, but she believes the killer knows the Flagler County, Holly Hill areas because of where the bodies were dumped.
Just the areas that they are, you'd have to know our area a little bit.
She has not found a direct connection between the two women, but believes they could have common acquaintances out there. Both lived in the Daytona Beach, Holly Hill area. Both were 38 at the time of their deaths, and both were known to frequent the same local bars.
Someone out there knows something. Relationships change over time, so maybe you heard something or whoever did this told you, and now's the time to speak up because their families want answers.
Family like Don's brother, who says his big sister was loving, a good mother, and her death was devastating.
I hope they catch whoever did it so it doesn't happen anymore, and who knows how many other people are out there. They're not finding this person. There's just been daunting on my entire family.
Now, Detective Scalia is meticulously going through thousands of pages of reports, looking into what evidence can be retested by today's technology. But with two victims, could there be more? If this is likely the same person killed both these women, that they've killed people elsewhere as well?
It's possible. We can't rule it out. There's nothing to suggest that. As of now, we don't have any cases that are connected, but we'll see what happens in the future.
If you know anything about the murders of Andrea Ford or Don Peterson, please contact the Flagler County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit. Katie Jeffries, First Coast News, on your side. Investigators believe Angela Maxwell knew her killer, but the crime is so cruel it's hard to imagine. Angela, badly beaten, died while holding her 3-week-old baby. Investigators are now re-examining the evidence, and with new technology, could there be new leads? It was a story that dominated the front page of the Lake City Reporter. A woman dead, her newborn baby found alive in her arms. Her killer never arrested. Like the ink on the page, the case faded from the headlines. Until now, as detectives are giving it another look. What happened to Angela Maxwell begins on the night of August 3rd, 1992. Around 11 p.m. that night, she spoke with her neighbor, got some food, then went into her house on Azalea Place, where she lived alone with her 11-month-old daughter and 3-week-old son. But the next day, she wasn't seen.
Several people hear one of the children crying, feel that there's someone in the apartment with the young lady, and she doesn't want to be disturbed, so that they leave her be.
2 days later, on August 5th of 1992, Angela's 15-year-old brother was playing basketball nearby and wanted a drink of water. When the front door was locked, he tried around back, found the back door locked too, so he peeked through a window.
Looks through the back window and sees her on the couch unresponsive. Calls law enforcement, they respond and find her deceased.
Angela had been badly beaten. The report notes multiple blows to her head, her newborn baby lying face down on her chest. incredibly alive. Her 11-month-old daughter found crawling on the floor nearby, both dehydrated and hungry, but otherwise unharmed. Investigators believed from the beginning Angela knew her killer. The home was locked and there was no forced entry. Angela had cashed a $200 check before her murder, that money not found in her apartment. But they aren't sure if it was a robbery, and it's unclear if she was sexually assaulted before her murder. The initial investigators told the Lake City Reporter they aren't even sure what the motive may have been.
As far as I know, we have never developed any suspects.
Angela's aunt told the newspaper in 1993 her 20-year-old niece was friendly, loved by her family, knew a lot of people, and had only been living in that home on Azalea Place for a year. Investigators searched the area around the home, but never found the murder weapon used to beat Angela. But something else was possibly left behind.
They had to be close enough they were touching this person or something in the house. Their DNA is somewhere in the evidence, we're sure.
Which is one of the reasons detectives are hopeful. In reopening this case, Detective Burnsit, along with Detective Poteet, say they discovered fingerprints, blood evidence, and biological evidence that was preserved, and they will be resubmitting it for testing. But they still want information from the public, especially those who knew Angela Maxwell in 1992.
Somebody knows something, first-hand knowledge, not rumors they heard or they were told, this, first-hand knowledge. Please contact us and let us look into it.
And close one of Lake City's most tragic cases. If you know anything about the murder of Angela Maxwell, please contact the Lake City Police Department. Katie Jeffries, First Coast News, on your side. May 27, 2017, Lana Hall was at work and she missed a call from her son, Austin Wise. She had no idea that day her life would change forever, sending her down a path searching for her son, a search she still continues today. Stapled to a tree, against the backdrop of the unforgiving Florida woodlands, a face stands out.
I just want to know where he's at. I know something's happened to him.
Austin Wise, 24 years old.
Oh, I have a million questions with no answers.
The question begins the morning of May 27, 2017. Investigators say Austin was at a friend's home on Griffin Road in Waycross around 7 a.m. when he tried to call his mother, who didn't answer. He then called his father, reportedly saying he needed a ride. But when his father got to Griffin Road, Austin was nowhere to be found. 2 days later, Austin was officially reported as missing.
That was the house on Griffin Road that they were outside, and then he ends up walking off from there.
Captain Melissa Thrift with the Ware County Sheriff's Office is now the lead on the case. She took us out to the area on Griffin Road Austin was last seen. She says Austin and his friend visited the friend's uncle nearby that night.
So they would go over to his camper, and then they had been back over to the home on Griffin Road.
She says investigators were told there was an argument and Austin walked into the woods, but a search of the area turned up nothing.
We brought cadaver dogs in and had them to search too, but we still weren't able to find Austin.
Not even any articles of clothing. A trace of Austin's phone showed its last known location as near the highway, but the phone was not recovered either. For Lana Hall, the story that Austin just walked off into the woods never made sense.
He's terrified of spiders. He never liked the woods. He doesn't like to camp. He doesn't like to fish. He would have never have went into them woods willingly.
And she says 2 days before he went missing, she had picked him up from the same home on Griffin Road.
He was terrified. He got into my car and said that this person pulled a gun on him that was related to the people at that house and that he was never going to go back out there again.
But he did, and this nightmare for her and her family began. She says her gut tells her he's dead and his body never left this area, and she wants more extensive searches to be done.
It's been a nightmare to hear all the things that could have or may have happened to your child. As a mother, horrifying.
To add to the challenges of this case, the friend Austin was visiting and another person at the home that night have also died in the years since his disappearance.
Though critical circumstances, they were not criminal circumstances or had anything to do with this case that we are aware of.
Captain Thrift says there are currently no suspects in Austin's disappearance, and though tips have slowed down in this case over the years, they will not give up in pursuit of answers for Austin's family.
We have the role as law enforcement, but we're also parents. We also have children, brothers, sisters, so we definitely want to make sure, I know, that we keep continuing to look for Austin and find out what's happened to Austin.
And until she gets those answers, Lana Hall says she will not give up either.
I have to as a mother. I'm not going to stop until I find him or find out what happened to him. There's no end for me. It's like my world stopped the day that he went missing.
If you have any information on the disappearance of Austin Wise, please contact the Ware County Sheriff's Office tip line at the number on your screen. Katie Jeffries, First Coast News, on your side. Michael Monroe was just 8 years old when his father disappeared. For decades, he had no idea that his father didn't leave by choice. He was murdered in 1980. How William Irving Monroe III was identified is only half the story. The other half is who killed him nearly 44 years ago. Early last year, Captain Chris Stallings with the Putnam County Sheriff's Office was looking at a list of unsolved homicides.
This one kind of stood out because this was the only one at the time I was looking down the list that has unknown next to it.
John Doe 36, a man believed to be a migrant farm worker, found partially buried in Pomona Park in 1980. Captain Stallings says he wanted to at least put a name to that cold case, so he began pulling evidence and saw they still had hair and skin samples.
It's a stretch, but I think it's something that it's doable now with today's technology that hasn't been tested yet.
It took months, but Othram Labs was able to use genetic genealogy to track down some potential family members, like Richard J. Monroe, who confirmed he had not seen or spoken to his brother since the late 1970s. Richard offered up his DNA, and it was a match. John Doe 36 was Richard's brother, William Irving Monroe III. Shocking news for William's son, Michael Monroe.
I'm still trying to process stuff, and I mean, I was only 8, but he was everything to me at that time.
William Monroe III was a father of 2, a U.S. Marine who served in Vietnam. But his brother says the war changed him.
He's just a normal person until he come back from Vietnam.
He says William struggled with PTSD, but he loved his sons. Michael remembers his father as his hero.
Just did everything. I went everywhere with him, so when he was gone, it took a lot of, from me, and I've just wondered about it my whole life.
So what did happen? Captain Stallings says according to reports, on November 15th of 1980, a driver confirmed he picked up 4 men from a store in Orlando to work at a farm camp in Pomona Park. One of the men fit William Monroe's description. After 3 days, William Monroe reportedly left the camp and was never seen again. Then in December, a deputy on patrol spotted his body off of Cisco Road in Pomona Park. His upper body rolled up in a red and brown rug, partially buried, but his legs exposed. He had been shot in the neck. Just 3 months before his death, William sent his son Michael a birthday card, telling him he wished he could be there on his birthday, and he loved Michael and his brother very much.
Just to know he was found and he was, I wasn't abandoned as a kid,
Captain Stallings says he believes William took the farm job to try and get back to Pomona Park to be near his children in Putnam County.
I don't think your dad ever abandoned you for, the 1 year that it had been. I think he died trying to get back up to him.
As for who shot him, that's still unknown.
I hope someone would come forward and say, yeah, I knew him and I understand this is what happened, and the person that killed him may also be deceased.
But now that William Monroe has been identified, a deeper investigation into his murder can begin. If you know anything about the murder of William Irving Monroe III, contact Captain Stallings at the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. Katie Jeffries, First Coast News, on your side. When the Bradford County Sheriff's Department took over for the Stark Police Department, it inherited many of its open cases, and that included a murder case, something that started out by looking like a home burglary, but turned into a homicide. Just down 301 sits the town of Stark.
So trying to keep a secret in a small town is impossible.
Population just under 6,000.
So the fact that nobody has talked about this is very rare.
Also rare here, murder. Detective Corporal Michael Garman with the Bradford County Sheriff's Office says the county usually only sees 1 to 2 homicides a year. And with the closure of the Stark Police Department, the 2020 murder of Dimitri Blunt is now his case. It was July 19th, 2020. A neighbor noticed a window broken at a home on East Washington Street and knew the homeowners were on vacation. He called police, thinking there had been a burglary, but inside they found the body of 28-year-old Dimitri Blunt. Officers established Blunt had no connection to the homeowners or the house. So what was he doing there?
They're able to pull some surveillance footage from the residence that actually has security cameras, and they find out that it wasn't a burglary at all, that the gentleman was trying to take refuge inside the residence after he had been shot outside the residence.
He says the surveillance showed around 3:30 in the morning, a black sedan rolled up to the stop sign in front of the home.
A sedan sits there for a few minutes, and you're able to observe Mr. Dimitri walking towards the black sedan down the street right in front of the residence.
Does it look like he's walking towards the car as if he recognizes it, or is he just walking past it like he's walking somewhere else?
The video is really inconclusive on that. It doesn't look like he's shying away from the vehicle, but it also doesn't look like he's walking directly at the vehicle because he knows the vehicle.
As Dimitri gets closer, Detective Corporal Garman says muzzle flashes of gunshots appear. Dimitri shot 3 times, fires back, then runs towards the side of the house. When we covered this story in 2020, Dimitri Blunt's girlfriend, Aisha Mitchell, told us that around 10 p.m. the day before, he had been in a fight in another part of town.
They end up fighting. We all broke it up.
Why Blunt was on East Washington Street around 5 hours later is unclear, according to Detective Corporal Garman. But he says investigators were able to find this car about 2 days later, and evidence was recovered. But more is needed.
So how can the public help you all with this case?
Just coming forward with any information that we have. This is a smaller community, and typically things like this people will talk about.
Mitchell told us in 2020 that she and Dimitri shared 3 young children, and she was devastated. They lost their father.
They got a daddy that was so good to all of us. He didn't deserve that because they didn't even know him to do that to him. And now my kids ain't gonna have no daddy.
Answers for family, and so investigators can close this case.
Closure for the community, closure for their family, and getting some bad guys off the street.
If you know anything about the murder of Dimitri Blunt, contact the Bradford County Sheriff's Office. Katie Jeffries, First Coast News, on your side. Detective Daniel Casani says it is a case that is frequently on his mind, especially on a day like today, May 3rd. It marks 3 years since Eric Paul Acreage was last seen alive. Just hours before he disappeared on May 3rd of 2021, Eric Paul Acreage, who went by Paul, left a foreboding message on his sister's voicemail.
If you're ever wanted by a million people, you're gonna know what it's about.
Paul Acreage had been worried someone was after him. 3 days before he went missing, Selena Julius says she spoke with her brother on the phone.
So he said, Selena, they are going to get me. And when they do, you will not have me. He said, they will probably kill me. And he said, I do not want you to live out the rest of your life not knowing what happened to me.
She asked him who.
He referred to a group of people that he thought, he didn't give any names, and he was trying to figure that out himself.
She knows he spent the morning of May 3rd, 2021, working on his car in the country living neighborhood in Melrose. He then went to his parents' home to borrow their car and drove to Palatka for car parts. Then at 3:09, he left a voicemail.
If you're ever wanted by a million people, you're gonna know what it's about.
6 minutes later, he left another voicemail, telling his oldest sister he was coming to her house.
The problem with your neighborhood is getting in and out of there. I can make it somewhere down the road from there probably eventually, and I'll call you.
The last image of Paul was captured by a surveillance video at 5:10 p.m. at his sister's Keystone Heights home. Hat on and face covered, dropping off his parents' car. From here, he vanished.
We drove the roads looking for him, looking in dumpsters, looking in woods, looking in lakes, looking in ponds. We've gotten nowhere. That's the hardest part.
His family reported him as missing to the Clay County Sheriff's Office. The case is now in the hands of Detective Daniel Casani, who says he believes after Paul left his sister's home, he was met with foul play.
So somebody picked him up and took him somewhere where something possibly happened to him.
Detective Casani says Paul was a man who loved his family, but he struggled with addiction to narcotics, an issue his family acknowledges. His mother, Dimitri Acreage, says growing up, he was a happy, competitive young man who played college baseball and was closely bonded to his family, but addiction got a hold of him.
He got off on the wrong road, but he spent many years on the right road, and he made many, many friends.
At the time of his disappearance, Paul did have active warrants out for the sale of narcotics, but Detective Casani says early on he felt something was wrong.
What was the red flag that made you think this isn't a situation where he's just hiding, this is a situation where there's foul play?
There were way too many stories of something happening to Paul and somebody doing something to Paul. Also the fact that he was very close with his family. He would speak to them, even, if he's using drugs, he would speak to them all the time, weekly, daily, and it was weird for him to go that long with no contact with family.
He says he believes Paul was murdered in a robbery gone wrong, and even after 3 years, he still considers it an active investigation.
We do have a certain group of people that we're looking into that kept company with Paul, that were heavily involved with Paul's narcotic use and distribution, that we're still actively looking into those people.
And he wants to hear from those in the community who have firsthand knowledge of what happened. It's something Paul's family prays for every day.
We could just end it and find him. If they would just let us not wake up every day with this aching heart of searching for him, we could put it behind us and move forward, or we feel like we could. The pain will always be there, but it's so hard.
And his mother could finally lay her son to rest.
I'm at the end of my days, so to speak, and I would like to know, what happened to my son. It's cruel not to let me know.
But for now, the search continues.
We still have a missing person. We still have a person that's missing from his family that doesn't matter what he was involved in. We still want to make sure that we can try to bring him home. And then after that, we can bring justice for Paul.
If you know anything about the disappearance of Paul Acreage, contact the Clay County Sheriff's Office. Katie Jeffries, First Coast News, on your side.